Hey guys, welcome back to another Chit Chat with Cass podcast episode. I decided I wanted to do some more movie type reviews on this podcast. As you know, I'm a huge movie buff, and I thought it would kind of be fun to go through some of the movie series that I've enjoyed over the years, whether that be through my childhood or growing up, any of that. There's a ton of great series out there that I've enjoyed, so I thought that we might do something like that here on Chit Chat with Cass. I thought that this would be a good movie series to start with, as we are kind of in between summer and the spooky season. Right now, we're kind of in that spot. So why not throw in some summer beach vibes with a dash of scary sharks, right? So I'm going to be talking about Jaws. Enjoyed these movies growing up, and I still do, so I just figured we would start here. Now, I might not go as deep as some of my other movie reviews. I know that my dad and I go pretty hardcore with the Star Wars episodes, but we'll see what I do here. I just kind of wanted to, chit-chat about some of my favorite series. We'll see where it takes us. So Jaws came out in 1975. It is classified as an adventure thriller. When a killer shark unleashes chaos on a beach community, it's up to the local sheriff, a marine biologist, and an old seafarer to hunt the beast down. This was directed by Steven Spielberg and stars Roy Scheider, Robert Shaw, and Richard Dreyfuss. So fair warning, there will be spoilers in this episode. I will be going through the movie, the first film. So yes, spoiler warning about the movie Jaws. This movie is based on a book, although it is not exactly like it, like that's for sure. There's some bigger changes to the script in this film, so don't take the book to heart. When I think about this movie, it seems very much like two films in my opinion, and I will get more into that later on, but that's just kind of how I always think of the pace and the vibe to this movie. So starting off in this film, we get the Jaws music, the theme, dun, 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 by John Williams, of course, my favorite composer. So underwater shots are spooky to me. I will say that this movie did not scare me as a child, but I was weird. But underwater shots can freak me out. I have this whole thing with, water things and all that stuff. So that's probably why those type of things are spooky to me. And the mystery of the unknown, what is underneath the water. So, great way to start the movie. So then we go to the party and or bonfire on the beach, Boy sees girl on the beach, girl sees boy, shit's about to go down. And or boy sees girl, girl sees boy, girl gets naked, and then gets eaten by a shark. So Chrissy is the girl, and her beach friend dude are running down the beach, taking their clothes off, headed towards the water. They're both a little wasted, at least he is. I think he even says, like, I can swim, I just can't walk or undress myself. So yeah, dude, don't go swimming. But what a way to start a movie. This part is freaky and was pretty freaky to me as a kid, but, didn't give me nightmares because I was a weird kid, but still very freaky, I must admit. The way that the Chrissy character is thrashed around, I believe that they had her on like cables under the water and they just yanked her about. It is horrifying. It's the buildup of the underwater shots. It's still dark out, so the water's a little dark, but you can see her legs swimming. The buildup of that, the music, her screaming is just a very scary opener, like her praying and just begging for help. And homeboy is just like passed out on the beach, but she's screaming, she's calling for God, and just like that, she is fully pulled under and everything goes silent. Just the sound of the waves. And the first half of the movie is so like that. What is under the surface is a huge question for the first half of this movie. The mystery of what is not seen or what lurks in the water. And that in itself is scary. I find that to be a little scarier than like seeing blood and gore over the top, if you will, like the mystery of what water can do in itself or what can live in the water. I think that's terrifying. So definitely gives a theme and feel to start this movie off. You go into the introduction of Chief Brody and his family. They've just moved to the island, Amity, and he gets a call about something on the beach. So he meets up with the guy from that night, like the guy that kind of like, passed out. And they hear a whistle blowing from a character named Hendrix. He also works at the police station with Chief Brody. And they find the hand. Crabs and critters all over it. It is like a severed hand on the beach. What a way to start your career, right? You get a new job and you have to deal with a chopped off, chewed off hand at the start of your career. I will say it's funny how simple and, innocent this island is. That's kind of like the big reason that Chief Brody and his family moved from New York to the island for like a simpler life and a safer life because the crime in New York and all of that. And then, the first thing that he has to deal with is like all of these killings, right? There's a part where they're back at the police station. And like the current problem of a small town is the karate school is karateing the picket fences. Like that's how just basic and innocent this town is. But this summer's gonna change that. So Chief Brody is on the phone with the medical examiner and he types out on the typewriter that the probable cause of death is in fact shark attack. And of course, he is immediately asking where the beach closed signs are, and Hendrix says that they don't have any. This is very much a tourist town, a tourist island, so the idea of closing the beaches is huge and will play a huge part in this movie, obviously. So Chief Brody is pretty much going to go make his own signs, like he's on top of it. And during this, walking through town, Hendrix at one point tells the mayor about the shark attack. All while Chief Brody gets the supplies and then is headed out to a certain part of the water where there are some swimmers like practicing for a badge or something to that effect. So while waiting to cross the ferry, the mayor comes onto the ferry with his reinforcements, if you will. This mayor, this fucker, this guy. He basically comes with like the board of the town, the city council, that type of situation. And they've even roped in the medical examiner into this, right? And it's all about we need the summer dollars, and it doesn't mean we need to serve them up. Like, true enough, like voice of reason, this guy, the new guy in the town, is definitely the voice of reason, and everybody else is just thinking about the money. Never had this kind of trouble in these waters. We'll wait and see. And now the medical examiner is wanting to change the probable cause of death to a boating accident, right? Yeah, of course, because that would definitely look the same to a shark attack. And the medical examiner totally doesn't look pressed at all, right? Doesn't look pressured at all by the city council and the mayor at all to change his cause of death. And it's just like, it's all very political, you could say. The mayor is just worried about the town's money. You yell shark and we've got a panic on our hands on the 4th of July. It's okay if some people get eaten in the meantime. We just got to think about those dollars. This guy gets worse, trust me. Like, never be like the Jaws mayor, you guys. That is my biggest life advice. Going ahead to like a beach day where Brody and his family are just chilling on the beach, and we get the lovely introduction to Alex Kentner for a short time. You get to see a nice little dog playing fetch with his owner in the ocean, and everyone is just having a grand old time, Sun is out, beach time, all of that. Unfortunately, you have coming up some many iconic scenes in this film. I mean, this whole film is iconic. The way it's directed, the way it's shot, scenes, lines, the script, so many things from this film are iconic, but some of my favorite ones are coming up. So Alex goes out on his yellow raft. In the meantime, the guy has lost his dog. He's like calling him, and you don't see anything, but the stick that was being thrown is now just floating in the ocean. And even as a kid, I'm like, God damn it, not the damn dog. They killed the dog. Why? But once again, like I said at the beginning of this movie, it's almost like what isn't shown is scary. We don't see the dog die. We don't see him being eaten by a shark. You just know that the dog suddenly disappeared, and it's freaky. Because what happened to the dog? When did the shark come up and eat said dog? And it continues on with more underwater shots and pretty much going directly for the kid, Alex Kentner. And this is the first bit of blood that we get to see in this movie, and it shoots up and out of the water and onto the raft and around the kid. We still don't see the shark yet. It's still the mystery of the unknown of what lurks beneath the surface, if you will. But you get to see a burst of blood, and this kid does not look well. And you get the amazing shot of the push-pull with the camera moving towards Chief Brody. Push-pull is one of my favorite camera styles. I love it so much. I think it might have been created by Alfred Hitchcock, but it's one of my favorite scenes in this movie, and because he sees what has happened, and a lot of people on the beach see what's happening. Everyone starts to scramble to get the rest of the kids out of the water, and as everyone is back up on shore, Mrs. Kentner is looking for her son, and he is nowhere to be found. And you kind of see the raft come up on shore with a huge bite out of it. So, seeing as her son was just eaten by a shark, Mrs. Kentner puts up a reward to catch said shark. And this starts kind of a town meeting. They're trying to go over safety measures. People want to know if they're closing the beaches, all of these type of things. And I understand, the town people worried about their local businesses, their livelihood, things like that. But I mean, when there's a killer shark in the water, do you really want to be swimming in it? And Chief Brody finally says, like, yes, we are closing the beaches. And everyone is, like, upset. And it's like, dude, a little kid just got, like, chopped up. And you're just so sad you can't go swimming. And the mayor says, like, for only 24 hours. And Chief Brody's like, I didn't agree to that. And it's like, what is 24 hours going to do in this situation? You think that a killer shark is just going to be like, I don't like this spot anymore. I'll go someplace else. Like, 24 hours would literally do nothing. And some random person, I forgot about this, but when I was rewatching, like, some random person in the room is like, 24 hours is like 3 weeks. Girl, do you want to die? Do you want to be shark bait? What are you doing? So the loud room is interrupted by nails on a chalkboard, and you get the introduction to the Quint character. He has a couple different pretty good monologues within this movie, and this is his first, so he gets kind of a big introduction with this monologue. And he's basically talking about how he will go after the shark. He knows how to do this. He'll do it well. He will find him for the $3,000 reward, but to catch him and kill him, he'll do it for 10. And for that, you get the head, the tail, the whole damn thing. And the mayor basically, just says, okay, we'll remember that, we'll take it under advisement. So you got the signs out for the closed beaches. Chief Brody starts, like, really researching sharks and whatnot. And during this time, Michael, his older son, got a boat as a gift. It's like his birthday coming up. And there's a little dock off near their house. And Chief Brody sees him in the boat, and he, like, wants him out of the boat. He's just a little kid, but he's still, like, on the water's surface. And at first, Chief Brody's wife, Ellen, thinks that he's overreacting until she looks down at one of the shark books that he was researching, and it's a picture of a shark eating a boat. And she's like, Michael, did you hear your father? Out of that water now! And it's a funny part. It's a funny moment. So then we go to night, and two guys are trying to set a trap, basically, for the shark with a holiday roast, attaching it to a chain and throwing it off the dock. Now, I'm not a shark expert, but I don't know if that would really attract a shark with nothing swimming, no chumming, anything of that nature. I don't know if it would actually attract a shark like that, but we'll go with it. So the chain basically starts to go out further as if something has taken the bait. And it pulls so hard that the end of this flimsy little dock pulls off, breaks, and goes into the water. And it pulls one of the guys with him into the ocean out. And it's like, get off that, get out of the water, get out of the water. Like, let me just give a big hell no, get the fuck out of the water. And I'm just going to continue to go back to it for the first half of this movie. It's the creepy water stuff. You cannot see the shark in these moments, but it's just the little moments that will get you. At one point, the piece of the dock is being pulled out by something that's underneath the water that we cannot see, and then all of a sudden, that piece of dock spins around in the water and starts to head back, meaning whatever is pulling it is coming for the dude in the water now. It's turned around and it's swimming towards you, and in case you didn't know this, sharks swim a hell of a lot faster than humans do. And his buddy on the dock is like, take my word for it, don't look back. It's like, oh my god, no shit. Swim, Charlie, swim. I don't even know you, Charlie, but swim. I will say that in these types of movies, like, my anxiety for these people when they're, like, trying to get out of the water, it's like, it gives me, like, crazy, crazy anxious thoughts. And he's able to climb back up. His buddy pulls him up and he's all good. The dock kind of, like, keeps going and hits the shoreline. And the guy's just like, can we go home now? Now, because of Mrs. Kentner's reward, she was advertising it not just on the island, but to the surrounding areas as well. So there are local fishermen out looking for the shark and out-of-town fishermen coming to the island to specifically hunt down this shark. And in these moments, you get the introduction to Hooper, probably my favorite character in this movie. He is a shark expert, if you will. He's basically an oceanographer. And Chief Brody had basically called for assistance from him because he can do all the research he wants, but you kind of maybe want a shark expert during something like this. So this town is going crazy with fishermen. People are overloading boats, people have dynamite they want to go with them, and Chief Brody is trying to handle all this crazy. They don't have any additional people for the police department until 4th of July weekend, so it's pretty much like Chief Brody and Hendricks by themselves trying to control the mass of people. At one point, Hooper is trying to talk to Chief Brody, and he asks him if he can get the guys out of the boat because they're overloading this boat, this tiny ass boat. There's a bunch of them in it. And Chief Brody has to go and deal with the guy that's holding a bunch of dynamite, because that's normal. The officer told me to tell you you're overloading the boat. Yeah, whatever. They're not listening to him. And okay, well then could you tell me if there's a good restaurant on the island? And they're just yeah, walk straight ahead. And I love Hooper. He's just haha, they're all gonna die. Which should be the catchphrase for this town. That should just be the phrase. It's just a mess, though. There are so many people, lots of strangers, and everyone is just there for the reward. That's what they're focused on. They're not focused on safety or common sense. So Matt Hooper is looking for Chief Brody, of course, and so they finally, introduce each other and whatnot. And he wants to examine the remains of the first victim, Chrissy, the girl. And as they do that, a bunch of fishermen are heading out. Massive chumming is happening, explosions. It's just truly a massive idiots. There's just so many of them so near each other, and a bunch of them don't know what the hell they're doing. They're just in it for the reward. So as Hooper is looking at the hand, and they mention the probable boating accident. This is not a boating accident. It wasn't a propeller, any coral reef, and it wasn't Jack the Ripper. It was a shark. And it's the medical examiner knows that. He's standing right there and he's yeah, I know that. He doesn't say that, but his facial expression. He just followed what the asshole mayor was making him say. He knew it wasn't a freaking boat accident. But Hooper just pretty much confirms it in that. A lot of people talk about the prosthetic fake hand for this. This movie did come out in 1975, so it's not it's modern special effects. I don't think it looks as bad as some people do. Granted, I've grown up watching this movie, so I'm very used to it. Does it look 100% realistic? No, it looks like maybe something you'd kind of find at a Halloween store, maybe, but I don't think it looks as horrible as some people think. So after the huge group has gone out for the shark hunting expedition, a shark is caught and it's back at the docks. Doesn't mean it is the shark, but a shark was caught. And during this, you see Quint's character drive by on his boat, and he's just pretty much admiring the morons. Fun fact, during this scene, that was actually a real shark that they flew in from Florida, and by the time that they were filming it, it stunk so freaking bad, it was almost unbearable. And some of the fishermen, they're just what kind of shark is it? What kind? And being the expert, Hooper's a tiger shark. A what? I say that all the time because that guy's face just kind of looks like the definition of idiot. A what? Hooper starts to talk about some of the further details and how the bite radius doesn't match the victims. Basically, the bite of this shark doesn't match how the other, Chrissy, was bitten. And to be sure, he wants to cut open the shark and check its stomach. However, the Mayor Vaughn, doesn't want to do that in front of the people and have the little boy spill out, which, I'll give him that. Probably the only smart thing that he says in this movie. I get that choice. You probably don't want to do that in front of all of those people. The rest of his choices, no, but I'll give him that. But just assuming that this is the correct shark, no. So then you have the moment when Mrs. Kentner walks up. She's in mourning, she's in all black. Her son just died. And she slaps Chief Brody in this moment. It makes me so mad because she basically says that you knew that a girl had died here and you still, let people swim and you didn't close the beaches. Even though us as the viewer and like the town council know that he did. Chief Brody was the voice of reason during this. He was the only one trying to look out for the people, but she doesn't know that. And so she's putting all the blame on Chief Brody, and that scene bothers me so bad. She should be blaming the freaking mayor that's standing right behind him. And she's just like, my boy is dead, and I just wanted you to know that. And it's really sad. I feel really bad for her, but it's like, oh, girl, you don't know the truth. He tried. He tried. He was the politics of the town were working against him. And Mayor Vaughn, he tries to apologize, but it's like, whatever, dude. Like, you know what you did. Brody and his younger son, Sean, have a cute moment at their house where, like little Sean is mimicking his moments and making funny faces. It's kind of a lighthearted moment in the stress and anxiety of what is happening in this town. And it's, like I said, a new job for Chief Brody, and he's already, like, hella stressed. I feel for this guy. During this time, though, Hooper comes to visit, and he brings wine for the bad day. Nice guy. Chief Brody is kind of just like out of it and focused on the wine, if you will, during this. Hooper and Ellen chats, which is a little awkward when you know that they had an affair in the book, but hey, at least they didn't do that in the movie, because I would not be down with that. Like I said, I love Hooper, so I'm glad they didn't go that route, but yeah, like she totally screws around with Hooper in the book. And Hooper kind of lets it slide that, you still have a shark problem here. And they caught a shark, not the shark. This new job already given Brody a drinking problem. So they decide that they're going to go down and cut the shark open. The biggest problem I have with this scene is Hooper is in jeans and he gets all the shark guts and goo all over his legs. I just like, ew. Can you imagine what that feels like? I'm sorry, I think about these things, but they cut open the tiger shark, a few fish come out, a can, and a license plate from Louisiana, but no bodies. No Alex Kentner is in that shark, and they have slow digestion, so he would still be in there. Hooper wants to search for him at night because he thinks that's like when he's feeding, the shark that is. Let me just say a big hell no. Water, night, killer shark, no thank you. Chief Brody's like, I'm not drunk enough to go out on a boat, and I feel you. I feel you there, Chief. But they do go out on Hooper's fancy-ass boat. They basically, it comes out that Hooper's kind of rich, so he has this high-tech boat with these lights and these cameras under the water and all this fancy stuff. And up ahead, they actually see that there is like something else in the water, and it turns out to be one of the fishermen that went out earlier. It's his boat kind of half sunken. I hate sunken things. I've probably mentioned it before. It's like a phobia of mine, so this part is not good for me. It makes me so uncomfortable. But it's a thriller. What are you gonna do? And Hooper wants to go into the water and check out this boat. These crazy ass people, no. Just like some of the other scenes, it's like the little parts that are added into this movie and the way that it's shot. You're kind of focused on the half-sunken boat and Chief Brody and Hooper in the background on Hooper's boat, but as the camera goes by the sunken one, you can kind of see that there's a bite mark out of the piece of wood. So it's like you can't see the shark, but there's like the evidence and the creepiness of what they missed and what happened to the guys on that boat. So Brody wants to just tow it in, but Hooper is going to dive down and check it out just in case he doesn't want to basically lose anything. He does have the underwater lights though, so some of it is kind of lit up and he has a flashlight, but I'm still like, no, no, there's no way I'm getting in that water. There's no way. Even if there wasn't a killer shark, I'm still not getting in that water. So Hooper goes down, and as he's examining the sunken boat, he does find a huge shark tooth in the boat. And then comes the jump scare. And let me just tell you, I was rewatching this movie for I don't even know how many times. I've seen this movie over 100 times, okay? And this part still makes me jump. I also was wearing headphones, so that didn't help. I knew it was coming, but the sound effect and the head popping out of the boat gets me every time. And it's one of the fishermen that we were introduced to earlier. He's got a head and that's it, and it pops out of the damn boat. Terrified, of course, Hooper drops the tooth and the flashlight and comes back up. Like, yay for not being eaten, but you probably just took a good 20 years off your life. And then we're back to trying to convince the dumbest mare known to mankind that they have a problem. They're talking about how it is a great white shark and the details of it, and it will continue to feed while there is still food there. But the mayor doesn't believe them. And he doesn't believe them further because Hooper dropped the tooth, so there's no evidence. And it's all about the summer money. They have to focus on 4th of July and all the tourists, and it's okay if some tourists get eaten as long as they're making that money. You're going to ignore this particular problem until it swims up and bites you in the ass. And the big Amity Island sign has been vandalized. They basically put like a shark fin behind the lady in the water because that's like what they're literally going to be known as. And they're really trying to like get him to understand that they need to take action. Both Hooper and Chief Brody are trying to talk to the mayor, but he's just like not hearing it. He even at one point just claims that Hooper wants to get published with his findings. And you know, Hooper just laughs because the idiocy of this mayor, the guy drives me nuts. Like, it's just like one of those times you just can't reason with stupid. So tomorrow is the 4th of July. Dear God. And here comes the huge mass of tourists coming off the ferries, ready for lunchtime. So they are trying to pull together extra people. Like at one point they say like anyone with a boat or a gun to help patrol the waters because they just don't have enough manpower, because it's like, how do you patrol an entire ocean around an island? There's lots of boats out as they're trying to, you know, map the area, and they're staying connected with walkie-talkies to Brody on the island, and Hooper's kind of leading it out in the water. It cuts to a news guy on the beach, and he's actually the writer of the Jaws book. Random fact. And he's reporting about the shark attack, and they have this big picture in like the touristy area of the tiger shark that they caught. And it's like, oh, see, we caught the big bad shark. Just using it as part of the tourism. Meanwhile, these people don't know that it wasn't a tiger shark, it was a great white shark. As if Mayor Vaughn could not get any worse, he goes up to this family sitting on the beach and basically is pressuring them to get in the water. There's nobody swimming at the beach. And he's like, you know, take your kids out. Go, 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 go. This episode is literally just going to be all the ways that I hate Mayor Larry Vaughn. But the family, they go out and they look freaking terrified. Michael Brody, Chief Brody's oldest son, was going to take his boat out, but his dad convinces him to put it in to a smaller pond area that's connected to the water instead. And you know, the town and the beach kind of like get into the flow of things as more people start to get in the water. People are having fun, and it kind of looks like a normal beach day. You know, there's some shots with the town ladies having a grand old time in the water. And another random fact, like I guess they filmed this when the water was absolutely freezing. And if you look at their faces, they look so uncomfortable. Underwater shots with all the feet and the swimming just gives a very unnerving feeling to it. But that just makes, you know, water creepy, at least to me. And when you're talking about a huge ass shark, that's even creepier. The mayor like does like an interview and like saying they caught the predator that supposedly injured some bathers. Injured some bathers. He ate them. Amity, as you know, means friendship. Shut up. And out in the water, a shark fin comes up to a group of people, and they start to panic. It should have been a red flag, because like the shark fin like goes in between people, and it's like, you don't think you would have felt something underneath the water? You think maybe? But it doesn't matter because it starts the mass panic. People are swimming and pushing each other, stepping on top of each other. There's like hysteria as everyone is trying to get themselves and their kids out of the water, except for this one stupid freaking lady that stands in the water holding her child and is just screaming. It's like, girl, get out the water. You have your child. Walk out of the water. Why are you standing there in the water screaming? But as expected, because no one felt a shark underneath, it just turns out to be a prank. It's two little kids with like a cutout fin, and it's just a false alarm. They come up out of the water, and there's a bunch of guns and boats surrounding them because like the people that were monitoring the waters out there were like ready to take down this shark, and it's two little kids. And poor kids, like, he made me do it. Peer pressure, it's bad, guys. But while the activity of the false alarm is going on, there's like one single girl that's over by a different part of the water, by the pond. And this woman starts screaming that she sees a shark going into the pond. You can see the shark enter the pond, like the movement of the water and the fin. And like first everyone's like, oh geez, what now? But Brody's wife Ellen reminds him that that's where Michael is. And then it kind of builds to this intense part where Chief Brody is running to the pond. A bunch of people are running to the pond and jumping onto the sand, trying to get there. There's people that are like, does anyone have a gun? We could shoot it. We could shoot it. And while the boys are in Michael's boat, there's a swimming instructor that tries to check on them in his own little like paddle boat. But it was truly the bad place at bad time for this dude, because the shark knocks him out of his little boat and he's pretty much a goner. And this is like the first time you get the actual view of the shark, and it's partially like it's underwater and comes up and bites the guy he's trying to grab onto his boat. It's a very freaky image because you can just like the murky water, the waves, and you see the shark jaw coming up and biting and then kind of disappearing with this guy. It's very creepy. It's kind of a good introduction to like the mystery of not being able to see the shark, to, oh, there's the shark, we can see it about to eat a guy. Now, the kids were knocked out of Michael's boat as well. So they are in the water watching this guy being eaten, and he's like screaming, and his leg falls to the bottom of the ocean, which that special effect looks like a damn leg. That one looks totally real to me, even after all these years. The shark does pass right by Michael, and he's uninjured, except for the fact that he just witnessed this dude being eaten by a killer shark. And his friends are able to drag him out of the water, and he's just in shock. And as this section of scene ends, you kind of have Chief Brody looking out at the ocean. And in my opinion, that is where the first part or the first film within this movie ends. I'm not saying it should have been 2 films. I don't think that would have made sense. But I feel like you have almost a 3-act story in the first half of this film. And then you have a different 3-act setup. Confrontation, midpoint, climax, conclusion for the second half as well. The second part of the movie also has a very different feel to it. The first half to me is the thriller, the mystery of what's under the water, and the second half of the movie to me is an adventure. The first part is all the build-up and the mystery, what is beneath the water, the question. We end with another attack and really seeing the shark this time, and now you start the second half of the movie. So Michael is in the hospital, just mild shock, could have been way worse. Chief Brody is talking to the mayor and basically getting him to sign off on Quint killing the shark. He needs to sign the voucher so that they can contract Quint and he can do it. Like, he's done messing around, he's done playing games, like his son could have died out there, and the mayor's like, my kids were on that beach too. Well, that's great, you let them go on that beach. You knew what was going to happen. He does in fact sign the voucher though, and they are able to hire Quint. So they're going to talk to Quint about hiring him and all of Quint's rules and what he wants and, you know, what he's going to be doing, all of these lists of demands and his rules. You know, he's the captain of the ship and all that jazz. Hooper, however, does want to be an extra hand, and but Quint wants to be fully in charge, if you will. Quint and Hooper, 2 very different characters. So they are leaving on Quint's boat, the Orca. Hooper has a bunch of fancy equipment, including a shark cage. And you got Quint's line at cage go in the water, you go in the water, sharks in the water, our shark. Farewell and adieu to you fair Spanish ladies. It's just like, yeah, I feel you there. I don't want to go in a shark cage either. Like I said, Hooper and Quint are just very different. You know, you got the island guy rough along the edges, but still has his expertise in the whole shark world, versus the schooled and educated rich guy that has studied sharks. So very 2 different types of shark experts. Ellen is seeing Brody off, and, you know, what am I going to tell the kids? Tell them I'm gone fishing. I mean, he's not wrong. And the 3 head out. Fade to Brody chumming out in the open ocean. I don't know why it's so funny to me, but when Quint is just chilling on the deck of the boat and drinks a beer and then he like crushes the can, and then Hooper does the same with like his styrofoam cup or whatever that is, it continues to show just how truly different these characters are, and it makes me laugh. At one point, Brody almost knocks over the air tanks, and he learns how dangerous they are, and foreshadow. It's very much a waiting game for a while, right? They're trying to chum to get the shark to follow them, but, you know, it doesn't happen immediately. During this time, Hooper's playing cards, Quint's chilling, you know, Chief Brody's learning how to tie a knot. And it's in this point where Quint's chair that's, like, attached to the deck there, the rod and the line kind of start to tick, like something might be grabbing on to the bait. So he kind of puts the straps on, straps himself to the deck of the boat, and prepares to take hold of it. Right as Brody like gets the knot and pulls it, the line goes tight on Quint's chair. So many of the shots of the three of them on the orca in the second half of this movie are just really well done. I have a lot of favorites, and the cinematography aspect in the shots and scenes in this movie. So Quint's like trying to pull it, and he suggests that whatever it is, the shark has gone under the boat, while Hooper is saying it's nothing. He doesn't think it's a shark. And this is one of those scenes that's kind of up for debate on if it really was their shark or not. Some people make the argument that it wasn't the shark because the theme music didn't play, and that's usually like a signature of when the shark comes, but there was no John Williams playing. Others side with Quint and say that, yeah, it was just a different aspect to the shark, but it was actually their shark just messing with them. I would be curious to know what you guys think. Was it really the shark, or was it just something else? And I kind of go back and forth with what I think. It also just kind of shows more of the back and forth between Quint and Hooper having different opinions. So nothing really comes of it, and so we are back to chumming. The chief is stuck with that job. Slow ahead. I can go slow ahead. Come down and chum some of this shit. I love that line too. And just like that, the shark head, hello world, hello human, wanna be my friend, big ass shark right there in the chum pops up. See the shark much more in the second half. The shark that they built. Bruce. Bruce. And one of the most popular lines in this movie, you're gonna need a bigger boat, which I hear is actually an ad lib, which is kind of cool. And you're back to the theme music. We have confirmation that there's a freaking huge shark right there. The shark starts coming towards them, and we really get a feel for how huge this sucker is. Hooper suggests it's a 20-footer, and Quint's like, 25, 3 tons of him. And immediately Hooper and Quint are like ready to work. And the chief just like wants a bigger boat, which to be fair, I would want the same. The orca is kind of a smaller little boat to be going against that big shark. And everybody's like trying to do their tasks, and now that they know that the shark is here. In this moment, I kind of feel like I would be Hooper because he's trying to take pictures of the shark and wants Brody to go out on the end of the ship so that there's scale for the photo, basically. Further out. Why? What for? Go to the end of the pulpit. I need something in the foreground to give it some scale. Foreground my ass. I feel like I would totally be Hooper trying to get a picture of the shark, but at the same time, I totally feel for Chief Brody. I'm not going to the end of that pulpit when there's that big ass shark out there. There's no way. So meanwhile, while that's happening, Quint is like inside the ship and he gets a radio call from Ellen. He basically just blows her off. I mean, there's a huge shark out there. Stuff needs to be taken care of. It's at this point that they start to attach the barrels to like a harpoon gun, and Hooper goes to grab a tracker of some kind. Hooper is trying to tie this tracker on so that Quint can make the shot in time, but they can also like know where the shark is. It's another one of those like anxious moments, like, will Hooper tie the knot in time? And he's like, don't wait for me. But he gets it done. They shoot, hits the fin, barrel goes flying, etc. And there's a great, fantastic shot of Hooper and Brody on top of the ship, and Quint is out on the end of the pulpit, and you can kind of see them as the orca is going through. It's just a very nice shot. I like those type of things. So the shark is strong, obviously, and was able to pull the barrel down underwater. That night, the silly drunk boys are comparing scars like silly dudes do until the scene gets serious when Brody asks about a particular scar that Quint has, and he says he got a tattoo removed, and it was the USS Indianapolis. And then comes the best monologue in this movie, actually out of a lot of movies. It's probably one of the best monologues in film history, in my opinion. It's a really good part, and you get the story of the Indianapolis, Quint's experience with the sharks for the historic events, if you will, losing men to sharks, being stuck out in the ocean, all of those type of things, which if I had been on something and experienced something like the Indianapolis, I can't imagine that I would stay near ocean. But it's a very serious part, but it's really good as well. Robert Shaw is really fantastic in this scene, the way he's talking about everything that the character experienced with the Indianapolis. And then the movie turns into a musical. I'm kidding. I'd say like I make fun of movies that break into song, but I do actually love this part, and they're just drunk and singing, and being silly to kind of lighten the mood after that story, and I do happen to get this song stuck in my head. They're just trying to have like a chill night, but you know. Show me the way to go home. I'm tired and I wanna go to bed. I had a little drink about an hour ago and it gone right to my head. Oh, no matter where I roam, by land or sea or foam, you will always hear me singing this song. Show me the way to go home, boom, boom, boom. However, during their singing moment, outside of the boat, the viewers get to see the barrel pop up, and you can see the blinking tracker thingy that Hooper had put on it, so you know the shark is back. And something, aka the shark, starts ramming the side of the boat. Now, this was in the middle of their song, but we didn't get the theme music again. I know how some people feel like it has to have the theme music for it to be the shark, but could have just been because they were singing something else. Maybe it's not needed every time. Although it does lead into some John Williams music. A couple shots are fired at the shark, but nothing really comes to it. The next morning, they are working on the ship and dealing with the damages. Did take some water and some things with the engine. The way that Hooper and Quint are kind of like down working on the ship kind of oddly reminds me of Han fixing the Falcon in Empire Strikes Back. I don't know why. So Brody is on top of the ship and sees a barrel pop up. It kind of gets closer and they're trying to pull the rope in that's attached to the barrel. And Quint warns Hooper that let go of the rope if it starts to run because he's, you know, seen people lose fingers because the rope snaps back so fast. And the shark pops up for a lovely jump scare, and Quint's hands are actually sliced by the rope in the process. At this time, Brody goes to make a radio call. He's trying to do like a Mayday thing, and Quint just smashes the radio. This is another controversial scene. A lot of people get mad at Quint for doing that, and I mean, it doesn't help him much, now does it? But I take it, I don't know, his ego or his confidence in his skill to get this shark, he doesn't want the chief calling backup, is how I take it. The shark turns back around, hooking up another barrel to shoot again. There's a lot of cool things about the orca boat, but the side ramps to get from the front of the ship to the back of it are not my favorite. I feel like I would slip off, become shark food. I haven't spent much time on boats, but I don't think that I would want the little side walkways like that. No, thank you. So Quint is able to shoot him again, and another barrel goes flying. A couple of these times during these scenes when like you see the barrel flying through the water, the music almost gets oddly like really happy as it glides through the water, and I don't know, it kind of like reminded me of like some Willy Wonka, I've got a golden ticket, like type music, and I don't know why. It was really weird. At this point, they're kind of like chasing the barrels, chasing the shark down. Fast fish, as Hooper says. Another shot off into the shark, so 2 barrels, and he's going down again. Then it pops back up. At this point, like Hooper's legs get caught up in the rope, which would hurt like a motherfucker, and the shark is eating through the lines and the rope, basically. Quint gets another shot right through the jaw. One of the barrel goes up and over the ship, and it like almost knocks Brody out. Like I can't imagine like how fast that would be going, and if it actually hit somebody, like one of those barrels, like good night. So the shark is like actually dragging them backwards and just screwing up the ship. Water is going everywhere, it's just being pulled, and it really shows how strong this creature is. That would be a fun ride to go on. But then again, I hear they closed down their Jaws ride at Universal, and that makes me sad. I never got to go on it. It's getting to the point where like, you know, there's nothing they can do, and Quint actually goes for like a machete, and he's about to like cut the ties to the rope so that the shark will stop pulling the boat backwards, and the shark actually fully pulls off the hooks off the side of the boat and before he has a chance to cut the rope. And somehow the master shark goes down with 3 barrels attached, and even Hooper and Quint are both like, they're experts, and they're like, what the fuck? You ever had one do this before? And they're both like, no, this is a weird shark, this has never happened before. The shark like sideswipes the ship. He's pissed now and starts to chase them. Quint's plan is to head in and draw him into shallow waters and drown him, but does anyone else think that the shark is too smart for that? Hooper, however, is worried about putting too much pressure on the ship, but Quint just doesn't seem to care. Like, I don't know, maybe he's suicidal or just a little crazy. I don't think he realistically had any intentions to fully go in and like take the shark into shore. It just feels weird how hard he's pushing against his boat. Like, the orca isn't gonna make it if you keep doing this. And in fact, the motor basically blows in the boat. As an adult watching this, I do wonder more about Quint's mindset. I mean, he is so dead set on this task to take this shark down. It's almost like everything else is gone. Like, don't get me wrong, this is a great character, but he's very lost as well. During some of these bits, like, some of the music is very lighthearted during these scenes, but his eyes, I don't know, Robert Shaw's eyes look so intense, and he's really good in this part, but you gotta wonder, like, the thought process of Quint during some of this. Even as he looks over the damage of the boat and he finds the life jackets, and he gives them to Hooper and Brody, because, you know, he had said earlier during his Indianapolis story that he wouldn't put on a life jacket again. But you gotta wonder if he knows this is his last adventure. He comes back out of the boat, like, looking all cleaned up, kind of. He's in his fisherman's jacket and cap back on, like how they started the trip. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I'm going so deep into Quint's mindset, but you gotta wonder with how he came out looking like that, if he knew what was gonna happen. And just a side note, like, screw a life jacket. When a shark is going to come and eat you, like, what's the point? So they're basically out of options, and Quint is asking about Hooper's method of poisoning the shark with some of the higher tech stuff that he brought. And they can't really get the needle into a shark's skin, it's way too thick, so Hooper basically wants to try to shoot him in the mouth. And by doing that, he would need to be in the shark cage. So the guys start building it, and Hooper is going to go down into the water, into the shark cage. No, thank you. I would be so nervous. And I mean, he's nervous too. He's like, I ain't got no spit. But that would just be so scary to do. Lowering down into the water, another reason why water freaks me out. It's so hard to see stuff until it's like closer and you can see the shark kind of, and it's like dun 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 dun. They do use a mix of clips in these moments of real sharks versus the one that they built. You can see the difference. The size difference is pretty obvious. But I still give them mad props for the effects, the filming, the shark, everything that they did in this movie in 1975. And then, man, the shark hits him from behind and knocks the cage about. And Hooper drops the pole with, like, the needle in it, so that method is out the window, and the shark's mouth is just huge, and it's attacking the cage. The underwater screaming is something that I hope never to hear, and the shark just is fully destroying this cage. What's interesting is all through this really intense part, it's focused on Hooper because he's the one that's in the water. But it would be interesting to see, like, the full reaction of the guys up top. You don't really see what they're doing until Brody is really trying to bring the cage back up, but you would assume that they would have seen the barrels coming towards the cage. Pulling up the cage doesn't work though. Everything breaks, and by the time that they do that, Hooper is actually out of the cage anyway. He is hiding down below, but they pretty much think that he's dead. Which he does die in the book in that moment. And as if the poor orca hadn't been through enough, the shark is on the back of the boat suddenly. He, like, jumps out of the water, hits the back of the boat, and is, like, pushing it further down because of the size of this terrifying image. I will say, like, some of these images are freaky, because they are for sure. I honestly don't know why I didn't have nightmares as a child, but I was a very weird child. But, I don't know. Creepy. Scary. Big shark. The orca is pretty much full on sinking now. It was already full of water, and now the damn shark has jumped on the back. It's bringing the lower part down further into the water. And sadly, Quint slips, and Brody is unable to grab his hand, and he goes sliding right into the shark's mouth. He tries, though. He tries to kick and get away, and his acting is, like, super good here. He looks, like, scared as shit. Like, he's trying, but it's, like, such a big shark mouth, dude, and he has nothing to grab onto. And so sadly, the shark bites, and the scream, oh, the scream is not good. Brody is able to hold himself back on the higher part of the boat, kind of inside, but Quint is, like, bleeding and gushing and screaming. The shark is thrashing him back and forth, and Quint is pulled under the water. In other news, I don't want to film that scene. I'm not getting in that shark mouth. No. The next part, I think, kind of screwed me up a bit because, as I said, I don't like sunken things, and the orca at this point is half sunken, and the shark breaks through the window inside the ship. Freaking scary, no thank you. And he's got like bits of quint pieces in his teeth. It's nasty. Yeah, I'm never going after a shark. And Brody is in that room when it breaks in. It's just like, it's so scary. In this scene, though, Brody does grab one of the air tanks from earlier and is able to shove it into the shark's mouth. Smart. Side note, as the orca is sinking, you can kind of see an island or some land in the background. I don't remember seeing that before. So maybe they were not as far out as I thought they were. Thought they were more in open ocean. Quint did say he was starting to go in. So the orca is sinking. Brody starts to climb up to the highest point of the boat. He has a rifle with him, and the shark is still trying to go for him. He stabs him a couple times, and he's kind of laying down on the bars and is aiming for the tank inside the shark's mouth. And it's like shot, nothing, shot, and then it's smile, you son of a boom! Shark juice goes everywhere, and you can see the blown up shark bits floating to the bottom. I'm pretty sure Hooper heard that underwater. And just like that, Chief Brody, the non-expert shark guy that doesn't like water, is able to save the day, get the killer shark, and all that jazz. I really like the demise of this shark, that it's Chief Brody to do it, and the way, the smile, you son of a boom, all that bits and pieces of this scene. And then it obviously comes to be known that Hooper is alive. He pops back up. Like I said, he didn't make it in the book. He died in the cage, but he's alive in the movie. Hooper asks about Quint, and Chief Brody just says no. And so the shark is dead, and they gotta find a way home. So they end up using barrels to kick their way home. But can you imagine swimming back to land with the idea of like another shark? Or I know they're celebrating, but it's like still freaky. No. I used to hate water. Can't imagine why. So that is Jaws, the first of 4 movies. Yes, I will be covering the other 4 movies on this podcast. I do wonder if they will ever try for a remake of this movie, if they'll ever tackle that. I do think that the CGI would kind of ruin things, and they might go too hard with the shark and lose some of the sense of mystery in what lies under the water. So I don't think they should remake this one. But Hollywood is not very creative these days, so I do love this movie, both halves, the opening part to this film and the second half as well. I would be curious to know what your favorite scene from Jaws is, or who your favorite Jaws character is. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I will, of course, be doing the rest in this series. I'm not sure when the next one will go up. However, my September and October upload schedule is super busy with all the pre-fall and spooky time stuff. But we will see. I will be going on to the rest of the series for Jaws. Thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you guys in the next Chit Chat with Cass.